All righty. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another amazing event hosted to you by Wafa House during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We just want to remind you that throughout this pandemic, Wafa House has remained open and continued to provide support when most agencies have shut their door, providing aids such as food, diapers, housing mediation, legal services, and bilingual self care, all at no cost to the community. We are one of the only agencies in the tri state area that provides culturally sensitive staff who offer a multitude of services to the Middle Eastern, Muslim, Arabic, and Turkish community. In a time where many undocumented community members have been turned away from support, Wafa House has welcomed them with open arms. Please join us as we have our 30 days of virtual events streaming live via our social media platform and donate now. I'm going to send y'all the link in the comments. And we have another amazing guest joining us again today. Giselle will be speaking about financial freedom, where to go and finding support. Welcome, welcome.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, Shada. I appreciate that. My name is, so we hosted another event last week, but I'm going to go ahead and reintroduce myself to the newcomers. And my name is Giselle Makal. I was born and raised in Istanbul, Turkey. I am going to be 43 shortly in a couple weeks. I'm a single mom and I work as a program specialist for Institute for Building Technology and Services. I'm currently engaged in HR as an HR generalist role where I'm connecting with our employees, trying to focus on streamlining our processes in recruiting, onboarding, executing general company policies, benefits and enrollments, terminations and separations. I also support other projects, but I'm not going to go too much into that. Now, we're going to talk about some very important topics tonight. I want to first of all thanks to Wafa House again for giving me this platform to reach out to Wafa House community and also to everyone that is listening to us all across social media. Um,
Oh, yes. Um, I think we can get right into it. So
yes,
my
let's do it.
my first question is we're going to be showing the presentation, but before we begin, what is financial abuse and what are signs of financial control under domestic violence?
Yes. Um, there are so many signs. There are so many signs, and we're going to talk about them individually, and we're going to self reflect these questions to ourselves and address them. We're going to identify each step, and then I'm going to start talking about all that here shortly. But first of all, financial abuse is withholding of funds or refusing access to funds to a responsible partner. The aim here is to gain control and dominance over one's partner or one's own fear or anxiety of losing money. Dr. Corton, David Corton, says money is a mechanism for control. He's a former Harvard Business School professor. He says money gives a narcissist a sense of power and domination over others. It starts off small with the little things like removing your name from the accounts and then grows into stealing, threats, and extortion. It's imperative first step to recognize abusive situations. Typically, an honest and not judgmental conversation with someone you trust can help people realize that they're being financially controlled. So, we're going to identify these signs of financial control, and then we're going to see if this situation applies to us, and then what can we do to reclaim our financial freedom. It's very common to have discussions and even arguments about money. For example, paying bills, investments, where to go on your next vacation. Should I buy that shoe? Can I order takeout again for the second time this week? Does this sound familiar at all? Like, do you feel like he or she constantly starts a fight and complains about your spending choices? It all starts here. If you have a simple disagreement and you're able to then figure it out, well, that's great. But also you have to remember to be conscientious about how many times such disagreements are taking place. Are you one of are you always the one giving in? Like, do you just end the conversation and just say like, okay, I won't do it again? You have to also see how much this occurs and who's benefiting from all this. You have to keep your eyes open and do not let him or her sweet talk to you in giving in and accepting everything they're saying. Signs of financial abuse are very important to detect at an early stage in a relationship. That's the key. For the most part, this then turns into an emotional and verbal abuse as well. Remember, we live in a male dominant world, and there is nothing more satisfying for a guy than having a woman in their life who is submissive in so many ways. This is what they saw growing up, and this might be the only thing that they know. So they're not real, they're just reflecting on what they were brought up with. Um, we have to be aware of the fact that any type of abuse can harm your safety. Therefore, you have to always be alert and not ignoring financial abuse. Now, I'm going to ask Shada to move the slide to the economic wheel that I want to talk about a little bit. Shada. Hee-hoo.
Hello, here we go.
Hi.
Yes. So
Yes.
what is this tool that you have for us, and how do we use it? What is it for?
Okay. So this is basically the economic power and control wheel. This is a very basic tool that outlines um, the abuse of violent behavior. So there are a lot of questions here that we can ask ourselves to identify some of these. This is I'm going to try to make this bigger so I can read. So on the outline of the wheel, you see it says sexual violence, making her perform sexual favors for money. That's on one end of financial abuse. And then on the other side of the wheel, you'll see physical violence, using physical force to get money. So these two things are very important to first of all notice in our relationship. Is any of this is happening? So that's your first clue that that you're definitely being abused financially, because that this should not be happening. Now we're going to go and read all inside of this wheel, and then we're going to come back and identify each different sign. So, using coercion and threats, threatening to deny her access to economic assets such as a telephone and car, threatening to throw her out of the house, saying that if she leaves, then he will give money and her and then the children. So, this is coercion and threatening. Using intimidation is another part of the wheel that also is very hard. Destroying property, threatening to beat her up. Like, this is all on the physical side again. If you don't give your money, then this is what I'm going to do to you. Um, for example, taking her to court. Like, they can intimidate you. Like, if you don't do this, then I'm going to do this to you. Using emotional abuse, telling her she's worthless, making her feel worthless by making her account for every penny, making her worthless by denying her basic necessities and making her feel cheap. This is the emotional part of financial abuse. Using isolation, not giving her any money to go anywhere or to do anything, stopping her from going to work and seeing colleagues, not allowing her to use telephone, destroying her address book. All those go into isolation. Are they isolating you from your um, emotional connected community and your friends or family? Um, Minimizing and denying and blaming, telling her he only does it because he or she lets him, telling her she'll spend the money unless he looks after it for her, letting her telling her that she wastes money on silly things, telling her that she makes him destroy her things. And then they use children against you, and then they use their male privileges against you, and then using economic abuse, preventing her from getting or keeping a job, making her ask for money, giving her an allowance. That's a very big flag. Taking your money and not letting you know about and or giving you access to money, that is your first clue. So now let's ask these questions to each ourselves. Is your spouse controlling all the credit cards? You might have mutually agreed for one person to be in charge of income, credit cards and bills and etc. Or when the other one is taking care of the cleanliness of the house, cooking, laundry, maybe even childcare. There is nothing wrong in this picture unless your spouse is refusing you access to funds and share statements with you. This will result in you becoming totally dependent on him. Do not allow that. Is your spouse getting weirdly upset when you spend money? Are you keeping an eye out for the Amazon truck or hiding your bags in the car after a day at the mall with your girlfriends? Because you know he will be starting an argument as soon as he sees the bags or the boxes. And worse yet, you'll know you'll be punished for your spending. This could be him not talking to you. This could be him just reflecting back onto this issue like, oh, well, you don't even give a damn about us anyways. Look at the way you're spending money without asking me. Who am I here? Watch out for these signs, girlfriends, because this is a very slippery road. So, again, both of you sitting down and making a budget, agreeing on what expenses are allowed and what are not, is okay. What's not okay is your spouse calling all the shots. Is your spouse controlling your income? If your entire paycheck gets directly deposited into a joint account without your consent and his is not, that's another red flag, ladies. Do not give him the financial freedom and that contentment of being in charge of it all. Does your spouse have too much say in your career? If you guys are talking marriage or making lifelong career plans, that is totally okay. More to power to you. But if he's telling you what to do and how to do it, now that's another sign of abusive behavior, which is not healthy. Your spouse is actually showing you who they are. Believe them when they tell you who they are. Just take a step back and reflect on yourself and see, is this the person I want to spend the rest of my life with, or do I have to be in this position rest of my life? The key is to actually really be able to read between the lines here. Then you can set yourself up for success and a happily ever after. Does I know, are there any questions from anyone coming? I'm not seeing anything. Is because if there is, you can stop me anytime and ask questions. I'm gonna just continue on reading. So, does your spouse harass you at work? That's another sign, ladies. If your career, who you are at work, your reputation is who you are. If he constantly stops by and interrupts you at work, if he causes scenes and create drama, this guy clearly does not care about your career. He does not care about your success. He wants you to be his dependent and he wants to be in control and he literally wants to suck your blood. If your spouse spending money behind your back? When we talk about income and credit card control, I could have included this in that section, but I wanted to keep it separate because it is very important for you to have access to his finances, just like he does with yours. He could be stealing from you. He could be having an affair and hiding it by denying you access. Possibilities are endless. Financial abuse can also be rooted in secretiveness. So never give him the feeling or the opportunity for him to feel where you're trapped. It's a two-way street. If there is a joint credit card or bank account, then you should have a right to see everything just as he does. When you have that balance, think of the wheel, you have to balance everything. And again, early detection. Well, as soon as you do this, when you start the relationship, he knows that he can't manipulate you. It might be the end of that relationship, but if it does, then fine. But it will set you up for success throughout the throughout the relationship. You also have to constantly check your credit score. How is your credit score? What is your income debt ratio? For all we know, he could be getting all these credit cards and loans in your name. You might never know about it. Please keep all eyes open and ears open. Make sure you're routinely checking your credit score and your income against your expenses and debts. Another sign, another red flag is your spouse giving you an allowance? We talked about the two-way street. He's If he's giving you an allowance, the same has to go for your spouse. The strict protocol has to be followed for both parties. It applies for you both, not just you. Is your spouse keeping you in the dark? Now, financial stability is a key element of healthy and well balanced life. When this element is unbalanced, other worries and problems arise. It's from the first day you do not allow this, you make it known that you're going to financially be controlled. I'm sorry, something happened to my screen. Okay, here we go. It happens from the first day you do not allow this and you make it known that you're not going to be financially controlled, your relationship has a chance of beating the odds, like I said before. um, because it has to be well balanced, it has to be a healthy relationship. Does your spouse play games with you? Just as many other things, splitting financial responsibilities also have a healthy way and abusive way that just opens door to games and manipulation. So set healthy boundaries in the beginning and do not allow your spouse to manipulate you in any way, especially your financial freedom. Is your spouse hiding large debt? Now, do like when I was married, I never checked this, or before I got married, I never even thought of it. Like, does he have debt before our relationship? What's his credit score? What, how, let alone how much money he makes? I never thought of any of this before I got married. So I was very ignorant to all these signs. Uh, Before my marriage and before the toxic relationship that I mentioned last week that I was able to get out of. You have to put this person on a table and dissect every little bit of it before you are committed to this person. So, if he's hiding a large debt, what could that do to you? Monitor issues and talking about them might not always be easy at first. But to be able to establish a long lasting relationship, it's crucial to be able to talk about anything and everything. Honestly, it's always a key. Financial infidelity is extremely important to detect early stages. If your spouse is not coming clean with their credit score or debt versus income ratio, you need to see this as a red flag. Being able to talk about it openly and being transparent is the only way to salvage this relationship. Is your spouse taking advantage of your generosity? Now, this doesn't necessarily have to apply to romantic involvement, to a husband and wife relation. It could be relatable to other things like friendships, coworkers, even family. Is the person always showing up at your house at a dinner time and asking, "What's for dinner?" Or are they borrowing things and not returning them? Please, please, please be very careful about these type of people. Once you are taken advantage of, and then it's too late for that friendship. Again, I'm going to say set healthy boundaries at the beginning. If you're inviting them over for dinner or breakfast, okay, a few times, that's okay too. But make sure after the third time that they're asking you to come over. Hey, I make a killer lasagna. Why don't you join me for dinner? I know this on a very personal level because I'm a very giving person. I love cooking and I love entertaining people at my house. And I've been taken advantage of on so many different levels, especially during my relationship with my toxic boyfriend. Um, then it becomes your chore. Like once you start giving, the more you give, the more they take. So do not be too generous with the things that you offer, especially in the early stages. Do not say, oh, how about I cook in my house? How about I get us this and that? No, let him steer. Do not jump in and say, hey, I'm gonna cook, I'm gonna invite, or like make the plans. Let him do it and give him that freedom so that he feels like, okay, well, she's not saying that she's not inviting me to her house, she's not cooking, she's not doing this, she's expecting it from me. Yes, this is where you actually need to get him to be at least feel like he's in charge, not necessarily be in charge, but especially in the first phases of the relationship, do not give in, do not invest too much. um, the next topic is the next sign is your spouse isolating you from the support system? We also talked about this in the economic wheel. The being isolated from your support system is very important because once they have you under their control, once you're dominated by this person, you feel so lonely and you're so vulnerable. And that vulnerability actually allows them to abuse you, tell you you're no good, you can't do anything, you're not worthy of it, you don't deserve this. And then comes in the physical abuse, and then comes in um, that, you name it. It's just a start. So controlling spouse will try to cut you out so he can gain total control. Some tips for early signs of them are, or can be, suggesting shared phone and social media accounts for convenience. That's a sign. Moving you far away from your family so that it's hard for them to visit you. Fabricating lies about you to others. I know that very well. Um, Monitoring all your phone calls with your family and cutting the line off if anyone tries to intervene. Convincing you that your family hates you and it doesn't want to talk to you. So all these signs, please rethink all the questions and red flags that we just discussed. If any of them applies to you, I'm sorry to say this, but you are being financially abused and you're being controlled by someone who either had problem uh, during his bringing up, or he is hiding something from you, or he's benefiting from all this. Um, this happens to a lot of rich women too. It's not it doesn't happen to just a basic housewife who doesn't earn any money. It happens to CEOs, females that are in the workforce, that are making they are in the great phase of their career and where they're making sustainable amount of money. But even then, if they are being that they can be abused, and if they are being abused, they have to also reach out for support, and they have to like sit and think, why is this happening to me and why am I letting this happen? How long can this go on? um we have pretty much identified most of the signs. Now I want you to again relate, try to relate to some of these signs. And if you say, oh, wow, that's exactly what's happening to me, it's not the end of the world. But for those who have listened to me last week, I told you guys how I was in a toxic relationship and how I got out of it, how I was able to reestablish and regain control of my life. It's all doable, but it all starts with the realization and the wake up call. Once we identify these signs, once we see where we are in this relationship, then we have to get back in the driver's seat and take control. If you want to take the trip and be in the passenger seat and not be in control of your life and feel like you're miserable, that's another choice. But I beg to differ because we are humans. We're not supposed to be controlled. We're supposed to have our own freedom. Um, if you think that you identified that these signs are actually happening and that you are in a toxic relationship, we're going to talk now a little bit about putting an end to it all and what we can do when we need to pay attention to. We're going to talk about reestablishing financial freedom. Now, I'm going to first go into my slide, and that is on your screen. Reestablishing financial freedom after identifying that we're in a um, financially abusive relationship. So, we're going to start saving little by little. You can hide this money from this person. I would definitely, if you can't open a new bank account, if you cannot save it in the house, I would have a secret place. Maybe it could be someone that you trust. You can give this money to that person and tell them to hold on to it for you. You could be so afraid to get out of this relationship that um, you can't make you can't take big steps, but even small steps are okay. But we have to be a little smart about how we plan our exit out of this relationship. So you can maybe get a secret job and save money that way that he doesn't know, and try not to get noticed, because once they find out about this, it could get pretty nasty. So let's really keep it a secret. And ending relationship with abusers. If you're in a romantic entanglement, or if the friend or relative of someone who's committing financial abuse, it might be wise to separate yourself from this person. In many cases, it may be too difficult to do so because the person may be near or dear to your heart. If you have trouble becoming estranged from financial abuses, you can consult an attorney. You can consult a financial advisor who has experience with such matters. But if you cannot afford getting in touch with an attorney or a financial advisor, you can literally take the steps that we discussed, that I took last week, that I'll also be telling you shortly. Um, and please also change your personal codes, like contact your bank and change your PIN code, and then tell them that you're being financially abused. Um, Again, financial abuse also could be happening to like an older person where somebody else is taking advantage of it. It doesn't always have to be like husband doing it. It could be, you can be the old aunt, and your niece might be taking advantage of you, or your daughter for that matter. We have to look at it from very just different perspectives. But there's always help out there, and you can always contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233, if you believe you're in a financial abusive relationship. Now I'm going to go back to my little notes. Leaving a toxic relationship is not just emotionally draining, but it can be life threatening. In fact, the most dangerous time of an abusive relationship is to post breakup. In the moments of crisis, it's difficult to think clearly. Creating a safety plan ahead of time is very crucial. So, this will help you protect you and your loved ones. Reach out to domestic violence advocate before leaving an abusive partner. You prepare a safety plan first and personalized strategy of exiting a toxic relationship. You have to really strategize every part of the way. You can also contact an abuse coordinator, domestic abuse coordinator. Wafa House can probably, most likely, will be able to provide you those numbers and contact you with some abuse coordinators. Um, so how do we really do this? So you can end the relationship and ask him to move out, or you can move out yourself. But of course, for you to be able to do this, number one, you have to be financially secure and stable. Do not second guess yourself, ladies. That's number two. Do not second guess yourself. He's going, the minute you either move out or he moves out, or you make it known that this relationship is over, he's going to try to contact you and tell you that he has changed, that he's not going to do these things again. Um, please do not believe him. Um, you have identified that your spouse is already taking advantage of you, lying to you, refusing access to funds, and controlling you. He will not change. You can get a new number, a phone number, and that's the best way to end the communication. But if you have kids, that could be a little harder. But you can set boundaries and say, here, you can have the kids this day and this day from this time to this time, and here is the bank account where you can put the child support money in. This is the amount that I need you to pay, and be very strict and very brief. You'll be surprised that when you are in charge, you are going to create this atmosphere where he then knows that he isn't in charge and he's not calling the shots. Um, Once you get your own place, whether he leaves or you leave, when you are on your own, you're going to start improving your credit score. How do we improve our credit score? Um, First, of course, you're going to open a new bank account in your name, a checking account, and then you're going to open a secure credit card account. This means you are going to talk to your bank and say, I want to improve my credit card score, my credit score. So I need to open a secure credit card. Then you put down a certain amount of money. Let's say you start off with like $1,000 or $500. You put that money in the bank, and then you're going to use that card, that money in that account, for like your gas, groceries, um, maybe like your phone bill. But then before the payment due date, you're going to pay it all off. You'll be surprised within 6 to 8 months, your credit score is going to go up at least a couple hundred points. Um, then, once your credit score is getting higher and better, you'll see that the bank will actually return that money back to you. And then they're going to open up a new line of credit. It's going to be small at first. It could be like $1,000, and then it's going to go up to two, and then it's going to go to $5,000. This is how you can get your credit score higher. But at the same time, there's a certain amount of money that you're making through your employer. And let's say you're making $50,000 a year. If your debt ratio is higher than your income, then your credit score is not really going to take off. You have to be always cognizant of this. You have to always factor in your expenses that are a must, like your utilities, your rent, your car and gas, the insurance, health insurance, car insurance, renter's insurance. You have to factor in all these. So these are the things that you can't be without. But anything on top of that, like your luxury items, you want to take a trip, you want to, like, if you go above your means, your credit score is not going to get better, and you're not going to be in a better place. So you have to be very cognizant of this. Um, let's say you improved your credit score, and the best next thing that you can do is sit down and figure out all your debt. You put all the credit cards, you put all the loans that you have to pay off. Let's say if you had $20,000, what would you pay off right away? So those are the things. You make a list: bank A, bank B, bank C, bank D. And then you call them, and then you start negotiating with the banks and say, hey, I'm going through divorce. I have been, I didn't really take this loan out. My husband did. And I am going to pay you, but I can pay you so much. I can't pay you the $6,000 that I owe you. I will pay you $4,000 of it. And I'm going to do this by sending you $25 minimum payments a month. Now, the key is make you have the communication with the banks and the credit debt collectors. You have to be always in communication, and the minute they can't reach out to you, that's when they are getting like, okay, well, are we going to get our money? Are we not going to get our money? That's when they start getting really crazy. So be in communication, answer the call whenever they call you. Just tell them, hey, but always keep a log of all these calls. Bank A, Bank B, Bank C, they all have their pages. Bank A called this day. I told them this much and I'm paying this much. Keep a log of all the journal of all your payments. And you will see, by sharpening your negotiation skills, you can really get ahead of the game. And within no time, you will see that by saving money and raising your credit score and working really hard, you will be able to get through these days. But you can't get to that good place till you put a stop and end to the devastating relationship, that toxic relationship that eats you up. Um, and also, maybe it's time to change your job. Maybe it's time to go into a different career. You can also do that. Um, be flexible and be open to taking on any other extra shifts, or be presentable, show up on time. If you are starting a new career, you can get certifications to improve your resume, sharpen up that resume. There are so many sites online where you can update your resume. They have thousands of examples. Um, figure out how to do your taxes on your own. So you're not filing jointly, you're filing just for yourself. You can find places that do taxes for free. You do not have to go to H&R Block or another company like that to get your taxes done. I don't pay a dime to get my taxes done. Also, another thing to remember is to finding out if you qualified for Medicaid. Most of the time, if you make under $35,000, if you that was the norm. Don't quote me on that, but there's a specific number. If you make, depending on the income per capita of the location that you live in, they figure this out by going through your zip code. If you make under a certain amount of money, you and your child can qualify for Medicaid. Let's hope that that doesn't change soon, but that government insurance is going to save you and save your life. You can also apply for food stamps, which is not actually a stamp. They give you a credit card. I've done all this, so I know what I'm talking about. So they give you this credit card that gets replenished once a month or twice a month, and then you can go to the grocery store wherever they accept this card. It's called an EBT card. I don't know how it is in different states, but most in Virginia, it's called an EBT card. You could also get gas allowance. The gas, you have another card, they put money in there, and then you use it for buying gas at the gas station. So check your local state government website. Like in my case, it's virginia.gov. You can go to your county, like here is loudouncounty.gov. Every state and county have so much to offer for people who are trying to reestablish and reclaim their lives. Trust me, once you break free from a toxic relationship, once you're financially controlled, once you're in control of your own finances and you're totally independent, then the rest will be easy. It's hard, but you will have the energy because you know you're in the driver's seat. You're fighting for something and you're not alone. You're not the only one going through this. And remember, you can do it. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I can take any questions if there are any questions. Hi.
Um, hello, hello. Let's see. Any questions? Do we have any questions? Okay. Um, I have a first I'll say for like the EBT, because I know like accessibility is an issue, especially during this time.
Mhm.
One thing is that like Amazon does use a lot of services right now do accept EBT or food stamps. So a lot of people are like, oh, maybe I'm not going to be able to use it for my particular circumstance or where I'm at. But a lot of places are very flexible. A lot of digital type of stores use it. So that's,
It's getting
some,
more and more common because a lot
exactly.
of, yeah, especially with the pandemic, millions of people lost their jobs and they're counting on these food stamps and on these cards, and they're made available. You would be surprised. You just need to go out and try. um, I I strongly suggest there is nothing to be ashamed of. This is not some this the support and the money is there for you to get better. But till you get on your feet, do not also take advantage of this and be comfortable like, hey, I'm already getting money from the government. I don't need to work. That's not the case. Um, 2 years max. Then you really should like get off the bus and let somebody else who is in need to get in that ride. But within 2 years, you should be able to do all this stuff on your own. You should not be taking advantage of the system, because there are people out there who definitely need that money.
Of course. So my next question, I saw
Yes.
this on TikTok, okay? And you let me know. So basically, what this woman had said was a way to get cash and like or a way to get money or save money was when they would go to the grocery store, they would ask for small amounts of cash back and then they would hide that cash somewhere. And they were saying that it doesn't show up on the receipt. Is
Mhm.
that something like an option? Is this true or is just a TikTok hype?
Well, hey, whatever rocks your boat. I mean, if this person actually looking at because some people want to see the receipt. Some of the abusers, they're like, okay, go get the groceries, but let me see the receipt. You can actually see the cash out option in the bottom of the receipt,
Oh, okay.
because every item, like let's say you bought a gallon of milk, 2 dozen of eggs, some cheese, and some bread, and it's $100. Okay. Well, actually, it got $80 back in cash. So you have to be really cognizant. Like you have to be careful. And if he is looking at the receipts very carefully, you have to be. But if he's not, then I would definitely bank that money into like a little piggy bank. That I don't know if you can see my little piggy bank here, but like I used to do that a lot. I would take whatever I can and save it somewhere for rainy days. Totally.
Cool, cool. All
Mhm.
right, let's open it up for some questions.
Yes, yes.
Let's see, questions.
I went through it was so fast. I thought about it actually stopping and taking a breath, see if and there any questions, but I was like going so good.
No, no, I think it was very like even for myself, like I'm just like sitting here. I have my notebook ready. I'm like writing everything down.
Awesome.
But definitely, cause like because we talked about this a little bit earlier before we started. We were saying,
Mhm.
that I'm single, and something that like I didn't even think of, because of course everybody's always like, what is their career, what kind of money do they make, are they able to support you, but do they have large debt? Like, what? Like, if 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 the person that I'm speaking to, like, yeah, they make, I don't know, a lot of money, but their debt is overwhelming, that's like nothing. And then of course if we get married, whatever, I in turn, take that on.
You
But
inherit that. You inherit it.
there you go.
I mean, they could be making $500,000 a year. It doesn't matter if their credit cards and the loans that they have out is more than what they make. You don't want to allow this person to get into a joint checking account, or do not share all your financial information. Like, where's your 401k at? Where is your health insurance? Like, you don't want this person to be even on your health insurance. And I would definitely not file my taxes together, because you have because this is not illegal. Like, domestic abuse, financial domestic abuse, is not illegal, meaning it's legal. Like, the minute you report a domestic finance, they're like, oh, we can't, there's no really nothing we can really do. Like, you can't call 911 and say, hey, my husband's stealing from me. They're not going to be able to do anything. You have to get yourself out of that situation. And to be able to get out of that situation, you have to make sure that you can stand up on your own.
Okay. So, because I have my own little watch party on my phone. So, okay, so like for the beginning of a relationship,
Mhm.
um, whether it's just, two partners, a marriage, or like cohabitants, like a roommate situation, um, and where you would share common expenses, would it be like, oh, like I have my bank account, he has his bank account, and then like what would you suggest after that? Like what would be, because obviously, if we're sharing a mortgage or if we're sharing something, like what do you recommend? Like how would that work? Would it be like an allowance? Like,
No, don't, let's not let I do allowance for my 15-year-old.
yes.
Um so the minute he turns 18, he's not going to be getting any allowance from me. That is, I think, in a way, demeaning for a person. You should have your own financial freedom. If he wants to buy a car, well, he's going to have to save up money to buy a car for himself. Thus, he wants to have the iPhone 12. Well, guess what? He needs to work for it. And we have like a little chart in the house for everything that he does. He earns so much money. And we've been doing this long enough that he is able to actually. Um, Back in spring, my son damaged his TV in his room. All of a sudden, it fell, it wasn't working, and he knew it was his fault. And he had to pay for the new TV out of his money that he saved up. Um, so, when is it normal? When is it good time to maybe join things together? You really have to be certain. First of all, never do it when you're in a relationship. You have to have a binding agreement, which is on paper, which is marriage. So when you are married, after you're married, I still would not recommend having 100% joint account. Like, let's say you're earning $5,000 a month. Have $2,500 of it go into the joint account. The rest needs to stay in your own account because of your personal expenses. You can come up with a plan, like sit down. How much is the mortgage or the rent? How much is the utilities? How much do we pay for groceries a month? And you both then contribute so much of your income, but don't ever, because your employer is going to ask you when you're doing your W-4, how much of that money do you want to get directly deposited into this account? You can add two, three, four different bank accounts and divvy up. the amounts. So I would definitely always have in the back of my head not to share, not to put all of it in the joint account. And there are certain things that you should never really get him involved, just like your 401k, um, your well, income taxes sort of benefit you when you're joining, filing jointly. But that's when the things are going to be really revealed. How much he makes, you're going to know how much he's doing whatnot. So you need to do a little bit research. We're very lucky we're in a generation where we can actually have access to a lot of information. But till you're married, do not do anything. And after you get married, if you want to go into a mortgage together, I would definitely not I would definitely not risk my entire life and count on this person. Always keep like one eye closed, one eye. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm like, I love like there's a show and the guy finds out that his wife has her own bank account, and he's like, let me get this straight. Your money is your money, and my money is everybody's money. And she's like, yes,
Yes.
exactly.
No,
Exactly.
well, the thing is, for all we know, he might have another bank account. He might even, I hear this so many times. Oh, blah, blah, blah's husband actually had another wife, and he had a house that he was paying for, and he even had a kid from this person. How does this happen? Because we are like this. When we're in love, our brain literally is deactivated. We get into this, we get very comfortable with the person, we trust them with our life. And then how do we get back on our feet? So that's why I'm saying, don't always, you are number one. You are number one. Your life jacket, your life vest is how much money you have. Do not ever give up your career, and do not let him interrupt your career either. Yeah.
Mm. Ooh. Hello, goosebumps. Goosebumps.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I mean, you're in the very beginning of this and you're not married, you're single. So these are very good things for you to see, as you might decide to get into something serious. Very important signs.
yes, it's definitely like a topic because even like my friends, like most of my friends are single, and we have these conversations, or even my siblings, as because they're also getting older, looking for partners. And it's like, okay, well, our parents didn't have the best or healthiest financial situation. What does that look like for us having healthy relationships when it comes to finances? So for sure, I was very appreciated. I definitely learned a lot.
Good. I'm glad. That was the point. The point this week was to, identify the signs, and then how do we get out of it, and what do we do? Some of the stuff you can't really find online because, as a person who's been through all this and now who's able to stand on her feet, I do stumble once in a while, but for the most part, um, I can say that I'm very proud to be doing it on my own, and raising a kid by myself. So it does. Um, it would have been much better if someone was out there and told me, "Hey, Giselle, make sure you do this, this, and this." I wish there was someone for me, like me right now, telling you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, sometimes you, maybe somebody tried to tell me this, but I no one did. Nobody in my family. My one someone in my family tried to say, well, keep your eyes open, but that was during the marriage. So any relationship advice, anything in the spectrum, no, it's been life lesson learned type of.
Aw. No, like they say, when we heal, we don't just heal ourselves, we heal generations, because we're not passing on that trauma. Just for myself, like I try to heal and work on the things, and from there, like right now in this live, I have my mom, my siblings, and they're learning, and then hopefully they'll pass it on to their kids, their friend, etc., and it's just like an echo effect.
Right, exactly. That's all we can do. Just improve ourselves and just change the things that we're in control of. Things, if we're not in control, then we don't have a responsibility. But our life, it's our life. Like, you have to be in control. Nobody else can control you. Do not give people the satisfaction that don't deserve it. Just, you know, always be cognizant of your of the signs that could get you into a position where you don't want to be. Yeah.
Very
Do we
nice.
have any other questions or no?
We can take more questions, or we can respect your time just because I
No,
know
we
it's
can take more questions. If there's more questions, I can take like a couple more
okay.
that I have.
So
Because my son actually started coming here and trying to type like I'm hungry with the few things on the book. Because I worked all day and now it's like dinner time. It's 7 o'clock.
oh,
Yeah, it's okay. It'll be good.
maybe okay. So I know for your situation it was different because you were the provider,
Mhm.
and your partner was taking advantage of that. But what if it's like the other way around? Like, let's say your spouse, like we live in a male dominated society. That's just how it works, patriarchy and whatnot. But so let's say, like, for myself, like, if I mean, I have great credit, I have everything, I'm good. But for somebody else who maybe is like just, married right out from their parents' home, not necessarily established in life, and, most of their financial stability comes from their spouse, what are things they can do so that they can create financial independence, like, even though, like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Um, I actually sort of discussed how to do that. Again, the number one thing, the first thing they can do is to sharpen up their resume and get a job. Number one. Number two, get a secure credit card where they secure the funds in ahead of time in advance, and then use that card and build up their credit score. Um, and also apply for all the stuff that I said, like Medicaid, food stamps, um, and extra shifts. Like, if you can get a second job, a side gig, always do that. And yeah, those are the things that I don't. In short, I mean, I talked
Yeah.
about it previously, but these are the main things that are important for people who are relearning.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We had like a few come in towards the end, so I was like, let me just
Sure, sure.
bring it in. But I think for questions, I think we can, if you just like want to wrap it up, that way we respect your time. Your
Okay.
kid is hungry.
Yes. Um, so, like I said, landing a new sweet gig after such toxic relationship is going to be a key. So I definitely suggest everyone to go online and sharpen up their resume. And they can apply for, like, they can get, especially during the pandemic. I don't like it when people say, "Oh, I'm so bored, I have nothing to do." Well, go on there and join the webinars, try to apply yourself and get a new certification. There's just so much to do. So get yourself back in the workforce. I did it. You can do it too. Um, get your get First of all, understand what's important in life, and then go for it. Just do it. You can do it. So next week, what we're gonna do, I'm hoping that we'll have some more questions next week, because I want to be able to answer people, like one, like, 5 or 6 or 10 people maybe, and answer their questions. And we're going to also talk about the exit plan a little bit more carefully, because I feel like we kind of went through that kind of quick. The exit plan out of the um, toxic relationship and how to get on our feet. We're going to talk about the planning phase, and we're going to answer questions, and we're going to talk about where do women empowerment come into play? How do we empower each other, and what does it really mean? Like, how, United we stand, apart we fall. So we had to stay united, and we had to be not isolated but together. So we're going to talk about sisterhood a little bit next week.
Awesome, awesome. So
Stay
I
tuned.
I threw the questions in real quick in the chat. So just for folks to read, think about the questions that you want to ask Giselle for next week. And I'm very excited. I'm
Yeah.
very excited. I think it's at 6, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's me
Next
and you
Tuesday at
again.
6 o'clock.
A power team.
Yes. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you for
Yes.
tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in, and please join in tomorrow at 12 for our next live event. Actually, all day tomorrow we have events. I think
Whoa.
we have about 3.
Wow.
So come on in. I think it's 12:32 and 6. And we
Very
have
cool.
some great speakers. So we will see you guys then.
And I'll see
Thank
you
you,
guys next week.
Giselle.
Thank you,
Bye,
Sabrina.
everyone.
Have a great week, everyone. Good